I'm working on the sleeve of my anchor. I had my sleeve stitches on hold. They were on my cable here, and I just put my needle tips back on. And I'm going to begin by picking up the stitches that I cast on for the underarm. And while my pattern says that I need to pick up and knit 8 stitches for my particular size, I'm most likely going to be picking up more. And I will be picking up more just to prevent the little holes that are in the corners here where your stitches that you cast on and the stitches that you have on hold. Here's my last stitch that I cast on and the stitches that I have on hold. This is a pretty big gap, and I want to fill in that gap a bit by picking up some extra stitches that I will get rid of by decreasing in the following round. So to get started, I'm going to begin here, and I'm just going to go by look and feel. So I may be picking up stitches and then getting rid of them if I feel like they're not in the right spot. Because I'm picking up more than I actually should according to the pattern, I like to place a marker so that I know that I have started my pickup stitches. And then after I've picked up all of the stitches that I feel like I need in this area, I'll be able to count and see how many extra I have. Then I can get rid of, in the following round or two, those extras. So I'm going to place my marker here, and then I'm going to take a look and see that I probably want one in this section before I get to my first cast on stitches down here. So I'm going to do at least 1 or 2. Based on the position of this last stitch of the sleeve, I think I'm going to go in and pick one up here to start. I'm going into that opening and then knitting a stitch. That's my pick up and knit. And then I can see the next area where I need to pick up a stitch. I'm looking at the little V's here, is right here. So I'm going to go under those strands right in that V, and I'm going to pick that up and knit. And then the next one. And the next one. My next V, and the one after that. Continuing along my underarm here, picking up in all of those V's. Here's my V. So I've just picked up a knit across the underarm, and now I've come to another little section between those cast on stitches and the stitches that I had held for my sleeve, and there's a pretty big gap there, so I'm going to pick up possibly 1 or 2 stitches here, just going on kind of the every V that I was doing before. I'm going to go in here and grab this one, and then I will do 1 more, and now I feel comfortable with that being the next stitch, so I'm going to place another marker. Then I know that these are all of my stitches that I have picked up, and I'll just do a quick count while we're here. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And as I mentioned, my pattern indicates that I only need 8. So I will be decreasing those 4 extra stitches as I get back around So I'm going to go ahead and knit across my sleeve stitches here, and then I'll come back around to my underarm stitches and get rid of some of those extras. So I've knit around my sleeve stitches and I'm back to where I started to pick up my underarm stitches here. My marker indicates where I began picking them up. So this is the last of my sleeve stitch. And my size indicates that I needed to pick up 8 stitches. And I mentioned previously that I picked up 4 extra stitches just to prevent any holes or gaps in the underarm. And so now I need to get rid of those 4 extra stitches. And I'm going to do those in the next 2 rounds that I do around the sleeve. The most basic way to do that is just to knit 2 stitches together for each stitch that you're getting rid of. So I would knit 2 stitches together 4 times to get rid of my 4 extra stitches. The other thing you could do if you want to create a more decorative decrease, although remember that this is the underarm, so most likely you will not see it, but you can do a right-leaning and a left-leaning decrease. So you could have the decreases point inwards, or you could have the decreases point outwards. The right-leaning decrease is your knit 2 together. So if you knit 2 together, the stitches are going to appear like they're leaning to the right. If you slip knit, you're going to create decreases that point towards the left. So just keep in mind, how would you want that to look at the underarm, pointing out away from each other, or pointing in towards each other. All right, so now that we've talked about the way we can decrease, the first decrease that I'm going to do is between these 2 stitches, where I have 1 sleeve stitch and 1 of my extra cast-ons. And I have a marker in the way, so I'm just going to slip this first stitch onto my needle for a moment and get rid of that marker. I'm going to slip it back on. And I'm going to do a knit 2 together here. So I'm going to take my 2 stitches on the left needle and knit them together. I'm just giving my end a little pull here to even out some of that excess. And then I will knit across the cast-on stitches that I've picked up and knit in the previous round. And then as I get to the end of those, I'm going to repeat a decrease with that last stitch of my cast on and the first stitch of my sleeve stitches. So here's my last cast on stitch that I picked up and the first stitch of my sleeve. So just like I did before, I want to decrease those 2. So I'm going to slip this over for a moment, remove my marker, slip that back on, and I'll do a slip knit here. So I'm going to slip, and then knit. And then I'll knit around the sleeve again. And then as I get back towards those underarm stitches, I have 2 more stitches to decrease so that I'm back to the count that I should originally have had. And then I can continue on with my sleeve directions as written. A good idea after you complete your decreases is just to double check the total number of stitches that you have on the needle. Make sure that they correspond with the total number of stitches that you should have according to the pattern before you get too much further in your sleeve. That'll help prevent any issues. And then I'll just work the sleeve as directed.